Welcome back to Global Lens on News9 Live with me, Neha Khanna. In a major announcement that India will most certainly welcome, the United Kingdom Security Minister Tom Tugendhat has announced a new funding of £95,000, that's almost 1 crore rupees, to enhance Britain's capability to tackle pro-Khalistan extremism. The British High Commission released a statement on the minister's 3-day visit to India that began on Thursday. The announcement on the new funding comes amid growing concerns in India over increasing activities of pro-Khalistani elements in the United Kingdom and elsewhere. New Delhi had in fact reacted quite sharply after an attack by some Khalistanis on the Indian High Commission in London in March this year. The minister is in India to bolster bilateral cooperation on security initiatives and to attend the G20 anti-corruption ministerial meeting over the weekend. The British High Commission said today in a statement during a meeting with India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar in New Delhi on Thursday, Minister Tugendhat announced new funding to enhance the UK's capability to tackle pro-Khalistan extremism. It said the £95,000 investment will enhance the government's understanding of the threat posed by pro-Khalistan extremism, complementing the joint work already underway between the UK and India through the Joint Extremism Task Force. The UK Security Minister said the living bridge between India and the UK reflects our deep and enduring friendship. As the world's oldest and largest democracies, we have many shared opportunities to make the world a safer and more prosperous place. A deeper partnership between our two nations means we can more effectively tackle the security threats we both face. I'm committed to working together to enhancing our understanding of and capabilities against extremism, whatever form it takes. He added that he was delighted to be attending the G20 meeting. The UK minister also said corruption also harms our prosperity, damages our society and threatens our national security. I am therefore delighted to be attending the G20 anti-corruption ministerial meeting presided over by India to continue strengthening global resilience and cracking down on its corrosive influence. The minister will meet with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval during his 3-day visit. The British High Commissioner to India, Alex Ellis, meanwhile, has said the unique connection between our people brings both huge opportunities and security challenges. Through mechanisms like the Joint Extremism Task Force, we're acting jointly on countering threats including pro-Khalistan extremism as well as on migration to keep our people safe. Now on to our special segment on climate change. The wildfires in the Hawaiian island of Maui in the United States are becoming catastrophic. Dangerous wildfires are spreading rapidly on Maui due to very dry conditions stemming from a drought combined with powerful trade winds being squeezed across Hawaii. At least 55 people have died now from the wildfires on Maui, and much of the historic town of Lahaina has been destroyed, according to officials there. A state of emergency has been declared for the entire island, while all non-essential travel to the popular vacation destination is being discouraged. The big island of Hawaii has also been impacted by these wildfires. The winds are being caused by a strong high-pressure system to the north and a strong low-pressure system, Hurricane Dora, well to the south. Governor Josh Green said the inferno that reduced much of Lahaina to smouldering ruins was the worst natural disaster in the state's history, turning thousands of people homeless and leveling thousands of buildings. It's going to take years to rebuild Lahaina, Green said at a press conference, as officials began to map out a plan to shelter the newly homeless in hotels and tourist rental properties. The city that draws 2 million tourists every year, or about 80% of the island's visitors. Officials have repeatedly said they expect the death toll to rise further. Lahaina looks like a war zone. That is what the Maui County Mayor has said. It was the cars in the streets, doors open, melted to the ground. Most structures no longer exist, and for blocks and blocks of this. That's what he said. As the death toll from the wildfires continues to climb, authorities are bringing in cadaver dogs to search for more victims, according to the mayor. President Joe Biden has signed an emergency declaration for the Hawaiian island, allowing access to federal assets and funds, which the mayor says will be used for the welfare of the people. There's been an outpouring of donations and offers of help, he says. Right now, he says, our focus is on fighting the fire, saving lives where we can, or preventing further harm. Of course, property as well. We'll get to the investigative stage when the time is right. While Lahaina in the west side of Maui has been shut down amid the active wildfires, the rest of the island remains open. The wildfires that have devastated Maui are likely the largest natural disaster in Hawaii's state history. Even Governor Josh Green has said that. Green went on to call the wildfires catastrophic and said the state is seeking 2,000 hotel rooms to help the displaced people of this island. After surveying the damage, Green estimated it could take billions of dollars and years and years to rebuild the completely destroyed town of Lahaina. He estimates over 1,000 buildings have been destroyed. Officials still don't know exactly how many people are still missing. Much of Hawaii was under a red flag warning for fire risk when the wildfires broke out, but the exact cause of the blaze is still not known. The powerful winds fanning the flames were generated by Hurricane Dora, a storm that is moving across the Pacific Ocean, hundreds of miles south of the Hawaiian island, the National Weather Service said. The hurricane, classified as a Category 4 by the Central Pacific Hurricane Center on Wednesday morning, contributed to heavy wind gusts above 60 miles per hour that tore through Maui overnight, knocking out power lines and damaging homes. National Guard helicopters have activated as part of the state's emergency response to the wildfires. And almost 85% of the wildfires in the U.S., remember, are caused by humans, according to the National Park Service. Fires that are sparked this week can result accidentally from leaving campfires unattended, burning debris, using various kinds of equipment and discarding cigarettes improperly. Intentional acts of arson are another source of human-caused wildfires.
People are found in houses in a huddle, holding each other because the fire surrounded their homes before they could even get out. There was nowhere to go. And these are beautiful homes that are very old and they're made of wood. Those went up like a matchstick. Nobody had warning.
On Monday we came here. The Red Cross is here. The people are so kind. You know, we have food, we have water, and a place to shower, and people who love us.
My team and I submitted the proposal to the federal government for presidential disaster declaration. And exactly 6 hours later, we were honored to receive in the affirmative that the federal government will be supporting our full recovery, which means that there will be grants for individuals from FEMA, there will be support for rental aid, there will be support for small businesses.
All right, moving on now to Russia. Russia has launched its first probe to the moon in almost 50 years, a mission designed to provide renewed momentum to the country's space industry, which has been struggling for years and become increasingly isolated amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. The launch of the Lunar 25 lander is Moscow's first lunar mission since 1976, when the USSR was a pioneer in space exploration. The rocket carrying the probe blasted off at 2:10 a.m. Moscow time. The spacecraft is due to reach the moon's orbit in 5 days. It will then spend between 3 and 7 days choosing the right landing location on the moon's south pole. Officials say for the first time in history, the lunar landing will take place on the lunar south pole. Until now, everyone has been landing in the equatorial zone. They expect the probe to land on the moon around the 21st of August. The Lunar 25 mission aims to be the first probe to make a soft landing on the moon's south pole, something that has eluded Russian, American, Chinese, Japanese and Israeli missions over the years. Well, once it's there, it'll search for frozen water by taking rock samples from a depth of up to 15 centimeters of the moon's regolith, the layer of loose surface material. The craft also carries a dust monitor, wide-angle ionic energy mass analyzer that will provide measurements of ion parameters in the moon's exosphere. The mission also has a significant geopolitical role, according to Russian and foreign observers. Some say the study of the moon is not the real goal. The goal is political competition between two superpowers, China and the United States, and a number of other countries that want to claim the title of space superpower. Some argue Russia's aspirations towards the moon are mixed up in a lot of different things. First and foremost, it's an expression of national power on the global stage. Remember, it's also a race with India. Lunar 25 is racing to reach the moon before another spacecraft from India, Chandrayaan-3. Both countries are aiming to be the first to reach the moon's south pole around the 25th of this month. Chandrayaan-3 is due to run experiments for 2 weeks, while Lunar 25 will work on the moon for one Earth year. The Indian Space Research Organisation, or ISRO, successfully launched the Chandrayaan-3 mission from the Satish Dhawan Space Centre in Sriharikota on the 14th of July in its second attempt at a soft landing on the surface of the moon. The spacecraft is expected to land on the lunar surface by the 23rd of August. The Soviet Union was the first country to land on the moon all the way back in 1959, but the space race eventually shifted to Mars and other missions. Since the 1991 fall of the Soviet Union, Russia has failed to send probes beyond the Earth's orbit. Moscow has vowed to continue exploring space despite Western sanctions, and it replaced equipment from the European Space Agency with Russian-made instruments. And we will end the Friday edition of Global Lens with this somber story from the United States. Some shocking statistics have come to light in the US. Close to 50,000 people took their own lives last year in the United States, the highest number ever, according to new government data. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, or CDC, which posted the numbers, has not yet calculated a suicide rate for the year, but available data suggests that suicides are more common in the US than at any time since the dawn of World War II. Experts caution that suicide is complicated and that recent increases might be driven by a range of factors, including higher rates of depression and limited availability of mental health services. But one of the main drivers is the growing availability of guns, according to some, like Jill Harkavy-Friedman, Senior Vice President of Research at the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. Suicide attempts involving guns end in death far more often than those with other means, and gun sales have boomed, placing firearms in more and more homes in the United States. A recent Johns Hopkins University analysis used preliminary 2022 data to calculate that America's overall gun suicide rate rose last year to an all-time high. For the first time, the gun suicide rate among black teens surpassed the rate among white teens. That's what researchers found. US suicides steadily rose from the early 2000s until 2018, when the national rate hit its highest level since 1941. The year saw about 48,300 suicide deaths, or 14.2 for every 100,000 Americans. The rate fell slightly in 2019. It dropped again in 2020 during the first year of the COVID pandemic. Some experts tied that to a phenomenon in the early stages of wars and natural disasters, when people pull together and support each other. But in 2021, the second year of the pandemic, suicides rose 4%. And last year, in 2022, that number jumped by more than 1,000% to 49,449. That's a 3% increase compared to the previous year. The largest increases were seen in older adults. Deaths rose nearly 7% in people between 45 and 64 years of age, and more than 8% in people 65 and older. White men in particular have very high suicide rates, according to the CDC. Many middle-aged and elderly people experience problems like losing a job or losing a spouse, and it's important to reduce stigma and other obstacles to get them assistance, say experts. Suicides in adults ages between 22 and 44 grew about 1%. The new data indicates that suicide became the second leading cause of death in that age group in the United States in 2022, up from number 4 in 2021. The CDC is expanding a suicide program now to fund more prevention work in different communities. Well, certainly a sobering thought and a reminder to all of us of just how important it is for us to focus on mental health, whether it is in the United States, here in India, or in any part of the globe. We need to focus so much more on mental health than we have done so far. Well, that's all the time we have on this edition of Global Lens. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great weekend ahead. See you again on Monday.